All right, so good afternoon, everyone. I'm super excited to be talking to you all today about winter study abroad options as a BME or biomedical engineering major. So I'll introduce myself really quickly. My name is Tiffany Coman. I use she, her pronouns, and I am an international programs advisor coordinator here in the International Programs and Engineering Office. I've also popped my email down there in case you have any follow-up questions or want to connect down the line. And I've also included a picture here on the right-hand side of myself on my own study abroad experience when I was in college. That is me in Seoul, South Korea on the Seoul Tower. So I'm a living testament that study abroad is great and definitely something that you should explore and a great option that's available to you. All right, so a quick overview of what we're going to talk about today. We'll first discuss why you should go abroad, why it's important, how it can benefit you. We'll go through our IPE Winter Abroad application and planning timeline. We'll highlight 4 programs in the winter semester that are specifically really good for our BME students. We'll talk a bit about the transfer credit process. We'll talk about some additional resources that are related to study abroad, and then we'll wrap up with some next steps and some time for questions. So first, why is studying abroad important? So there's several reasons, but one is directly related to one of our COE initiatives, which is People First Engineering. So really, through studying abroad, you can develop really strong intercultural competence and also intercultural communication skills, which allow you to connect with people across cultures better, be a better member of our global workforce, and just make yourself more attractive, both in the job market, and then also it makes things easier once you come back onto campus. You're able to work in teams better, whether it be like a class team, research team, project team, things like that. It also helps you build a global network. So we know the job market is super competitive these days, so it's really great to have a wide professional network, and people abroad can also connect you with opportunities and jobs that you may have not have known about before. So that's a really great benefit of being able to participate in these experiences. Another thing are personal skills. So studying abroad is a great way to become more resilient. Traveling sometimes can throw problems at us that we're not prepared for, but by solving those problems, going through those things, we become more resilient travelers and more resilient people. It also increases some of those adaptability skills that are so crucial. And also, it's a really fun way to learn about how other cultures approach topics in BME. So there's other countries that may be focusing on research or different areas in BME that aren't quite a focus here at UMISH or here in the States. And it's a great way to get exposed to some of those ideas by going abroad. And last but not least, it's fun. So no matter where you go, there's so many great opportunities, so many fun things to do, both inside the classroom and outside the classroom. And I have yet to meet someone who says, you know what, I studied abroad and I really didn't like it. I really didn't enjoy my experience. So anywhere you go, any of these programs you do, guaranteed to have a good time. So quickly, we'll kind of go over what the program application timeline looks like if you're looking to go abroad your winter semester. So right now, we're here at the top. So this is the winter term, the year before you go abroad. So this is when our applications are opening. This is a great time to do research on different programs, start talking to maybe your academic advisor or your family about your plans to study abroad. And then as we move through the spring and summer terms coming up here, this is kind of when you'll be working on your applications, maybe submitting some courses for transfer credit, which we'll talk about later today. And then just sort of kind of picking what program might be your top choice, maybe identifying a backup, maybe meeting with some of our advisors. And then as we move into early fall term, that's when our application deadlines will be. They're all in early September. And then after that, that's when we'll move through acceptances, confirmation, and then preparing you to go abroad next winter. So next we'll dive into a couple of highlighted programs that are great for BME majors. I just want to put a disclaimer that these are not the only winter semester programs you can do. These are just some of the ones that have BME coursework and then also have just been historically popular with BME students. So don't feel like you're only limited to the programs I talk about here today. You're definitely have more options, just kind of depending on how flexible you are with classes and things like that. But we're just going to highlight these for the moment. So first coming up here is the Engineering in Stockholm program. So actually here in the picture, you can see Giu. She's actually a BME student who is on the program right now. And she's blogging for us and taking lots of great photos. So these are her pictures. So this program runs from mid-January to mid-May. So it's pretty much in line with a typical semester here at UM-IPE. One thing that's notable about this program is that instead of paying your normal UM tuition, you pay a flat program fee or program cost, which for winter 2024 was around $24,000. And what's nice about this program fee is that it's all inclusive. So it includes not only tuition, but it includes housing fees, it includes cultural activities and excursions. It includes airport pickup, advising, orientation. So it includes basically everything, well, most things you might need for a typical semester just in that flat program fee. And what's really unique about the academics of this program is that each student picks a core course. So most of the BME students will pick the Biomedical Engineering in Scandinavia core course, since that's the only BME core course that's offered. And part of each core course, you get to go on a study trip as part of the class. That is also included in your program fee, so no extra cost. And they change locations of the study trip each year, but sometimes they go to other parts of Sweden. Sometimes they even go over into Denmark, London, Germany, other parts of Europe. So that's a really unique feature of this program. And then in addition to your core course, you have a variety of different electives you can pick. Most students pick about 3 to 4 electives in addition to the core course. And so I've highlighted some of the biomedical ones there. And then also we do have a lot of students who also take the Swedish language and culture course, which is really interesting, which you can use for some language credits or potentially for some elective credits as well. So what makes this program unique? I've already talked about a couple of things that make this program special. But what's really unique about this program is rather than being at this big university where maybe you feel like you're just one in a million, you don't really, have a lot of comprehensive support or contacts or things like that. That's not the case for this program. So this program is housed at the DIS Abroad Stockholm Center. So instead of being this large university, it's a very small study center designed specifically for US students, for students coming from the States. And you have really comprehensive support from all of their staff. So they have on-site academic advisors, they have a care team, they have student life people who help you organize activities, who can help you, plan travel and events and things like that. So a lot of support on site, which is great. And also they share their study center building with the Royal Swedish Music Academy. So sometimes you might hear like classical music playing throughout the halls, which is really cool as well. And they also do a really good job of weaving Scandinavian and Swedish culture into the curriculum, so into your coursework, into the activities you're doing. So it's a really great way to learn more about the local culture, as well as just Scandinavia in general through this program. So next, we're going to talk about UC3M for those of you who might be interested in spending a semester in Madrid, Spain. So the University of Carlos III is similar to UM-IPE in that it's a very large public university, but what's nice in comparison to maybe the Engineering in Stockholm program is that you get to study alongside the local Spanish students and take classes with them, which is really unique. So for those of you who might be more interested in getting some of that like local interaction or a little bit more integration into the host culture, this could be a great program for you. Similar to the Stockholm program, instead of paying UM-IPE tuition, you pay a flat program fee. So last year, that program fee was around $19,000. And again, similarly, that includes your tuition, that includes housing, that includes some excursions and activities, and includes all of your orientation activities as well. But this program does have a little bit of variation in some of the BME coursework they provide. So they have 331, they have a 410 option, and they have a 410 option as well. But since it is a pretty large university, they have a wide variety of other engineering courses, other humanities and liberal arts courses. So you're definitely not limited to just taking some of these more specific BME classes. So you could potentially take some of those engineering courses for some of those cross-disciplinary requirements. So you're not limited. There's a lot of coursework option there. And as I mentioned, what makes this program unique is that housing excursions and activities are all included in the program fee, and you do get to study alongside local students, which is really neat. And then I've included a couple pictures here, one of the campus, and then one is a current student who is at UC3M Nico out in Madrid. So a really great option for those of you who might be interested in Spain. So next is another popular option, not just for our BME students, but for a lot of our majors. And this is the University of New South Wales, which is located in Sydney, Australia. And this, similar to UMISH, follows similar UMISH calendar dates. So they start in early January, usually like one of the very first days in January, and they go through mid-May. And then similar to the other programs I mentioned, you pay a flat program fee instead of UMISH tuition. So last year, this program fee was a little under $10,000. But I will note this program fee, unlike the other two programs I talked about earlier, does not include housing. So housing would be a separate cost consideration in addition to this program fee. But what's really nice is UNSW, similar to UC3M, is a very large institution. So the course options are endless, but they do offer a good handful of BME courses, including BME 331, 418, and 311. But similarly, they have other engineering disciplines you could take courses from, as well as like humanities and liberal arts courses that you can take as well. And what's really unique is Australia, because it's in the Southern Hemisphere, their seasons are flipped from Michigan's. So while it's winter here, it is summer in Australia. So it's beautiful weather. You're right by the beach in Sydney. So all of our students who go abroad through this program have the best time. They spend so much time at the beach. They really enjoy being close to the water and just being able to experience summer in Australia rather than being stuck in Michigan for the winter. And as I mentioned, they do have a really wide range of course offerings, and you get to study alongside the local students. So that's a really great plus of this program as well. All right, and then the last of the programs that I will highlight for our BME major students is the University College Dublin, aka UCD. So very similar to UMISH in terms of calendar. So they usually start around mid-January, end in mid-May. And then like all the other programs I highlighted before, they do charge a flat program fee, so no Michigan tuition. Last year it was around $10,000. And similar to UNSW, they housing is a separate fee from the flat program costs. So this program cost usually just includes like your tuition and your health insurance, and then housing you would pay separately. So some example courses. So they, similar to some other institutions, offer 331. They've got MatSci 220, and they also have a couple of upper, like 400 level BME courses that you could potentially count towards some of those elective requirements as well. And we actually have, I think, 2 or 3 BME students who are at UCD right now, and I think they're all taking BME 331, and some of them might be taking the MatSci course as well. But what makes UCD unique, it's a really beautiful campus, a really great location. It's about 20 to 30 minutes outside of Dublin city center, but they have this really large, sprawling, beautiful green campus. You can see there's one of our students a couple of years ago, Olivia, all decked out in UMISH gear on campus. And they have a very large international student population. So along with exchange students and study abroad students like yourself, they also have degree-seeking students who come from all over the world. So you definitely wouldn't be the only non-Irish student there. And similar to UMich, it's a very large university with a lot of course offerings, a lot of different student clubs and activities to get involved in. And they also have a research course that you could potentially take to get involved in some research on campus as well. Any questions so far about anything I've talked about or any of these programs? Feel free, you can write them in the chat too. But like I said, these are just highlighted ones that have been popular with BME students. These are not all of your options, but these are definitely some good options. Okay, if we don't have any questions, I'll keep moving forward. So the transfer credit process, this is probably, I would say, one of the more annoying parts of getting ready to study abroad is trying to get these transfer credits in order. But the nice thing is all of those courses that I mentioned in the slides, those are all pre-approved, so you wouldn't have to go through any sort of transfer credit process for those. But if you're curious about what classes you can take and how you can get them submitted for approval, highly recommend checking out the academics tab of the program page. So I'll go back for a second. Here in the title, I've linked directly to our program page for all of these programs. So if you click into here and go to the academics tab, it'll take you right to the transfer credit information and how to explore course options for that program. So first, if there are a list of classes that seem interesting to you, you'll want to verify that those classes are in our COE course equivalency database. That means if you see them listed here, that means they have been submitted for approval and they can come back for credit here at UMich. However, if you don't see the courses you want to take in the database, that's not a problem. All you have to do is submit the course and a copy of the syllabus for approval via the transfer credit approval form. So if you've submitted courses before, maybe you've taken courses at other colleges or like a community college, it's basically the same process, the same form. So they usually just need a copy of the syllabus, they need the title of the course, and within 2 to 4 weeks, they'll get back to you with results. And if you're having any issues with the credit transfer process, or you have questions, or something's confusing or unclear, you can always connect with our office, and we're happy to talk you through the process, to connect you with some resources, and to help you in any way we can with that. So don't let the classes be a barrier. We can definitely help you to get the courses you need approved. Another important thing is to verify that the courses that you're interested are set to be taught in the winter term. So sometimes you might see it in the database, but it's only taught in fall, or they don't teach it currently anymore in the winter term. So you'll just want to double check that. And then it's also important to work with your academic advisor just to understand how these courses you want to take can fit into your degree plans to make sure you stay on track for graduation. So speaking of your undergraduate advisors, I'd highly encourage all of you to connect with the BME Undergraduate Advising Office if you don't regularly connect with them already. So it's likely you've probably met or at least heard from Allie or Rachel, who are the two advisors in the BME office. And they are great. They're both super nice, and they're very supportive of study abroad. So they want to work with you to make this experience possible, to fit this in your schedule and your plan. So I highly recommend connecting with them throughout this process, just to make sure that you're staying on track with your requirements and what you need. So definitely connect with them as early as you can to tell them, okay, I want to study abroad for a full semester. You know, what courses do I need to take? How do I stay on track for graduation? And how do I make sure I get those requirements in? So I've linked their office there, as well as their contact information in case you want to connect with them. They're super great, and they can kind of help you do some of that longer term planning. All right, and then quickly, just a couple of frequently asked questions that we get in regards to our winter programs. So a lot of students are curious, so like, how competitive are these programs? And most are not competitive at all. There's maybe like 1 or 2 exceptions, but all of the programs that I highlighted today are not competitive whatsoever. So I wouldn't worry too much about, you know, having like the best, most stellar application. Usually we're just looking for, do you meet the program eligibility requirements, so like the GPA requirements, being in good academic standing, and did you complete the application and submit everything in a timely manner? Those are usually the biggest factors for the program. So I would not worry too much about that competition aspect. And then also a lot of people wonder if financial aid can be used for IPE programs, and yes, it certainly can. So especially if you are eligible for the FAFSA or you regularly receive winter financial aid through the Central Campus Office of Financial Aid, that means you're most definitely eligible for financial aid for study abroad as well. So I'd highly recommend checking out our financial aid and funding page on our website. There's a great info session there that kind of talks through the process. In their office, they also have dedicated advisors just for study abroad who can kind of help you understand how your financial aid package might be applicable to your study abroad program as well. And then also we get a lot of questions like, how do we meet with an advisor? So I'd recommend checking out our advising page for more information about how to schedule appointments. So throughout the summer as well, all of the professional staff advisors will be here, so you can schedule an appointment with me or schedule an appointment with one of my colleagues. And then for the remainder of the class days, we do have walk-in advising too in our office with the peer advisors every Monday through Friday, 1 through 4. And they're able to answer a lot of questions as well and help get you started in the process. And then quickly, I also wanted to highlight some additional study abroad resources that are really useful to use as you're exploring your options and really thinking about making plans to study abroad. So as I mentioned, you're not limited to the programs I mentioned today. So I'd highly recommend exploring all of IPE's programs on our website. We have summer programs as well, including summer research opportunities. So maybe if a winter semester doesn't work out perfectly for you, you might want to consider going in the summer. And then we also have our funding page, which I've mentioned, which has a list of scholarships you can apply for and also some more info about how financial aid works for IPE programs. And then I've also linked a couple of other student resources that are good as you're making these plans. So our student blogs are really awesome. I've mentioned the bloggers a few times. We have student bloggers each semester who blog for us weekly. They have great photos, great stories, great tips. So it's a really excellent way to learn more about what does the student experience actually look like on this program. And it can help you kind of narrow down and decide where you might want to go as well. All right, so heading into the home stretch here, what are some next steps for you all as you're considering this opportunity? So highly recommend exploring your options on the IPE website, taking a couple minutes just to see what we have, just to see what the differences between the programs are, what does pricing look like, what do locations look like, and then next, in each of our program pages, if you go to the Contacts tab, you can find the lead advisor for that program. So let's say you decide, okay, I'm really interested in UCD, Dublin seems awesome. You'll then be able to find on the UCD page the contact info for Eden, who is our lead advisor for UCD, and you can connect with her either by email or set up an appointment with her just to talk more about the program. Next, it's also really important to ensure you have a valid US passport, or if you're not a US citizen, making sure you have a valid passport from your home country. And if that passport is expired, or maybe you don't have one yet, over the summer is a great time to start that renewal process. And we can also help you with that as well. And then, as I mentioned, this is also an important time to start working with your academic advisor to determine what coursework you might need to take while you're abroad, how you can stay on track for your graduation plans, and what programs might be most academically viable for you. And then from there, you can start to working on getting courses approved as needed. All right, so that was a lot of information in a short amount of time. But does anyone have any questions? I can go ahead and stop the recording now.